Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended, and I want to bring up some of the awesome things that Ark has added in. This is a total of 14 plus a few extras, little things that are awesome concepts that Ark has added into the newest game of its franchise. Now it's all 14 of these things are things that aren't super obvious that you know about already, the graphics were updated, you can see that, right? These are things that once you get into the game you really have an appreciation for, and it will show you pretty awesome stuff. Now if you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and consider subbing to the channel. I am so close to 100,000 subscribers, and that's what I've been going for all along. All right, let's get into it. So first off, the things that I noticed right off the bat are my favorite things that they have added. The quarter walls and triangle ceilings, right? So you've got quarter walls, triangle ceilings, and these are things that are a huge game changer both for PvP and for PvE, right? The reason these are so game changing is because once you use these things, I'm just going to show you what they look like, right? They are something that you can literally make a bridge out of, and that's just super cool, right? So you can have any sort of shape, you can do a T-pose, you can do whatever you want. I think for PvP purposes, you can literally just make a giant T, and once you make that giant T, you can just make this massive turret structure, which is going to be super cool. And then you're going to have a lot of customization with the actual walls here, right? So you can do whatever you want to, and have some walls here, some walls there. You can make these tubes, and then it's just a really cool thing that they added in my personal opinion, right? So another thing that they added in there, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you just the generic wall, right? So if I just look at the wall, where is it? Not large tech wall, tech quarter wall, that'll do just fine, I guess. So the generic wall is much bigger, or at least it feels much bigger. See how tall that is? It's almost twice the height, right? That's personal opinion. You used to not be able to get even it's just massive. So these are generic changes that they changed that make a big difference inside of Ark. Now the next thing is a super easy one, right? You can find baby dinos out in the wild. I literally just did a dino wipe, so I doubt I'm gonna find any, but you can find baby dinos out in the wild and actually tame them. Now this is a huge thing, because one of the most frustrating things, especially early game, is when you're trying to go around the map and you just can't find anything, right? The number of times that I've gone around the map and not be able to find any dino, and let alone have the ability to tame something early game, it's almost kind of funny. It really is. It's just one of those things that you just learn as you go, right? Now, I can probably go around and find something. I've seen Argentavis, I've seen Trikes, I've seen all kinds of stuff. You just have to adventure around, and you will run into the baby dino that is following its parent around. I can't see it at this moment in time, but it's a huge update, right? It just changes the kind of generic meta, because you can knock things out, or you can just take the babies. That sounds really weird when I say it like that, but that's kind of what they're aiming for anyways. So that's the second thing. Now the third thing that I want to talk about is also super awesome. It's the ping tracking system, right? So this area right here, you can now ping using waypoints with specific areas and track those things on the map and open up those locations in real time. So I made a video on how to use this. I'm not going to go through all of that stuff, but I can ping specific locations and go back to those exact locations over time. And to me, that's an awesome addition. Oh, perfect timing. So there's a baby parasaur right there too. Look at that. Super cool. But you can ping locations and go back to it. That's a huge addition. Now, the next thing that I want to bring up is not something that's inside of this game specifically. We've got to exit to the main menu to see it, and that's the mod integration. Now, obviously up front, the mods are going to be a little bit short on demand because there's only a few of them that exist that were pre-loaded into the game. But over time, people are going to make their mod additions, and it's going to show up in this mod store. That integration is going to be so nice, because you used to have to go out into Steam to download them, to add them into Ark, then add them into your solo player, blah, 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 blah. You get the point. Now, it's already just there, which is super cool. And then it's very simple to just add in mod arcs. They make it very useful, because a lot of the community loves playing mods. I'd say at least half split, just play with mods, and that's it. So that's thing number 5, super easy. Now the sixth thing isn't something that's in game at this moment in time, but it is something that they will be adding, right? This is mods and cross-play support. So being able to play with your friends over on console if you own a PC, or playing with your friends on PC if you own a console, is a massive change. And the reason that's such a massive change is because we used to not be able to do that because of the specs that were available, right? You used to not be able to load these massive structures and all this kind of stuff, and they just couldn't compete. The consoles could. Now they're close enough where they can kind of come close. So they've opened it up to be able to play cross-platform. Now that means just higher server populations and higher everything across the board, which is a super awesome thing. But again, that's a maybe. I'm hoping that it's the case because they still haven't released it for console. So for those of you playing console, I know you're like, well, we don't have the game yet. I know, but it's their intent. We got to post that. Now, the next thing that's kind of hard to remember, there's a specific cosmetics tab for a cosmetics shop style that they're going to do. And you can see that you can put cosmetics on just about any item. They're going to have it as it shows up here. When you're spawning in, you will spawn in with some basic torch cosmetics. However, you can see right here that it is clear that is their end game to make some sort of shop where you can purchase cosmetics. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but you know, it is what it is. So we're going to deal with it and hope it works out for the best. Now, also on your character screen, getting into number 8 things that we just noticed, pet, right? Once you have your pet, you can place it on there. So like your chibis and things along those lines, you can actually place those so it doesn't cost you a spot up here, right? In your offhand, you can place your pet up there and then also have an offhand item. It seems like a stupid little thing, but that's a really very important thing for people that want to use an offhand weapon or offhand something, right? Like shield, and you can also have a pet where you couldn't really do that stuff in just generic Ark. So that's a big, big change. Now, you've already probably noticed it, right? Because this is number 9 that I'm talking about right now. The UI overhaul. The UI overhaul is something that is a massive change. I'm kind of just going to go back to the generic screen, right? I'm jumping back and forth so you can see everything. So right off the bat, you've got an entrance screen. You've got the option to go straight into whatever you played last, or you can use the UI and kind of navigate around. You've got the create, join, mods list, all kinds of things. It's very user-friendly. The last Ark, I can't say was very user-friendly. You had to know a lot about actually not programming, but INI files and stuff like that if you wanted to get more in depth, whereas this allows you to update and change quite a few things just right off the rip, right? And that's pretty important. So you can just go into that. And it's not just the main menu UI that's kind of had a complete overhaul. It's the entire system of Ark that's had an overhaul. So once you actually get into the game, the first thing you notice is a simplified thing on the lower right corner, and then you notice this down here. But the UI that they have is very impressive. It's very simple, so it doesn't look quite as advanced as like some of the end game survival, Ark Survival Evolved, but it does look very clean and very usable and friendly. That's because it is. So all of this stuff is very simple, right? Which is what they needed to do. They didn't need to overcomplicate it. They needed to make it very clean. And it shows up very well. There's no problems. You can see heat resistance, cold resistance. It's no longer like hyperthermic, and all those kinds of things can be kind of convoluted. It's the actual resistance, and that's huge, right? That means that people understand it a little bit better instead of just hoping for massive numbers, right? So that's pretty cool. And then in general, the UI is very friendly. It integrates into the game seamlessly using things like that. The ability to dismiss things, add things to pings, and then use your middle mouse button to actually ping things in the game. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier with that ping tracking system, using these kinds of things. So that's pretty awesome that you can add something like that into the game. Now, the next thing, right? This is explosions. They kind of reworked how things explode. I'm going to add a rocket launcher to my inventory so you can see what I mean with this. Wow. I do not have GCM turned on. I was like, wait, why am I not able to add a rocket launcher? But they've changed it so when you actually blow things up, they explode how they're supposed to, or at least how you would imagine them exploding in a video game, at least. And we're going to go ahead and load up a rocket here, and then I'll show you that trees also have a natural falling pathway too, right? So you can see that that kind of falls down, and it does interact with the things nearby. It's a little video game-esque where it kind of like shakes around quite a bit up at first. But it is pretty cool how it works. And if you blow up structures, they kind of have a degradation where they actually explode and kind of change how they look over time, which is kind of cool. So I'll let you see what I mean. See how there's like dents and cracks and all that structure right there? The more damage it takes, the more structured damage that's going to be present on it. So it kind of goes with what they were saying with like damage is going to be more visible. And when it actually blows up, I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like when it actually blows up. But it does make quite a bit of an explosion, which is kind of neat, obviously. But like these are just small things that you don't notice until you're actually making things go boom. So, and there we go. So you can kind of see it kind of like launches around and kind of rolls, and it has a little bit of a fun response to it is a nice way to put it. So the larger structures are also going to have that fun response time, which is kind of cool. Now, the next thing that you have is, this is more about character creation and stuff like that. You have complete character control over what you want your character to look like, including a bunch of UI updates in order to make your character what you want it to be, right? And there's all kinds of specialty things that you can do to your character. Eye color changes, just generic changes like inner iris, outer iris. They added a ton of character customization. And that's something that I think is super cool, because people like playing as the characters they want to play as, not kind of making it work how Ark wants to make it work. Now, kind of flowing in with that comes our 12th thing in the list. And this is something you're going to notice right now that I'm currently using. Better cameras. Now, this is huge. Better cameras, because see how it's like I'm right up the middle, and when I aim I'm slightly off to the right, but it does fire it exactly where I want it to go. So if I fire it, it's going to hit where I want it to go. So if I'm throwing a spear, or if I'm aiming down a sight, if I'm in third person zooming in, it's going to aim where I want it to. Whereas in the last Ark, you had a little bit of offset within, like, I don't know, 50 yards, I would call it. You want to remember that, because now that's not the thing anymore, and things are supposed to hit where you aim. So if I was to aim at this tree, it's going to hit on that point where I'm aiming on the tree, instead of a little bit to the left, off to the off center, because you're off center the camera. So the camera controls are pretty nice. You can actually go into actually changing those in your settings, and you can go to the camera and kind of give some really cool, you can see this is the disable third person camera interpolation. And there's a lot of neat things that you can do with that, and I like that a lot. So like, I've got mine set to tight and loose, and because it just helps with your overall just generic play of Ark. Now, I know you noticed it earlier probably in this video, but there is a complete overhaul to the building process, and I'm not going to go super in depth to it, because there's this you see the reticle that now exists, right? The reticle is a big game changer, and there's lots of things that just flow a lot better. So now, naturally, instead of having to like lower and raise foundations, you can create stairs with these foundations, and they'll automatically snap to the areas that you want them to snap to. Now, if you don't have the setting turned off, they still give you a little bit of leeway with how things move, right? So it's very simple to make these giant structures that actually fit, and you can use quarter walls in order to make them nice and even, and all kinds of walls, and like you can see how that fits nicely there. There we go. Basically the exact same height. That ceiling that you would place in there would make it even. So people that have a little bit of a fix wanting to make sure everything's nice and even, it's very simple to keep things on an even level, which is very, very good. It's not complex and convoluted like the last Ark, where you had to kind of finagle things to work how you wanted them to, right? They kind of snap how you would imagine they would snap. Now, sometimes it's not perfect and it snaps not how you want it to, but it does snap to what makes sense if you were to try and put it down in real life. So I think that's an awesome thing, and that's just kind of what it is. Now, even though we've got these cool structure redos, right, there's also some really neat, how do I get him? Raptor. Let's just go ahead and summon Raptor character, right? They did some reworks on some of the individual dinosaurs, and you can see it right beneath me. They did a rework on the Raptor, and they did a lot of just reskinning with how they're supposed to act. So if I move over here, the Raptor is supposed to be able to have a better UI presence to get to me. I don't know how accurate that is, right? Because you can't just, they're supposed to make it so you can't just sit on top of a rock and rain heck down upon them. They're supposed to think accurately in order to actually come and get you, right? So he did a little bit better than just running straight at me. Unfortunately, though, it does look like they have a lot of room to grow for the actual pathing of a character. But again, these are 14 really nice additions that Ark did put into the game, and I really enjoy them. So far, Ark Survival Ascended has been a great game to play. I'm only playing in solo player mode. I'm not going to go into the drama right now of the non-solo player mode stuff, so you can look at my other videos if you want to check that out. But again, in solo player, fantastic. Lots of things are working how they want them to be, and it's just a fun game to play. So hopefully this is something that you enjoy. Again, if you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and consider subbing to the channel. I am close to 100,000, and that's what I'm aiming for. Hope this video helps you out. Teach out.